4 Wide returns to center stage with a brand new season. New questions, expectations, and anticipations becoming the main factor heading into race number 1. Tonight, we set the grid for the TJ's Team 250. We're live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. We welcome you to coverage of the Duels at Daytona for the Season 5 campaign of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. Over 2 months of absence, but we are finally back, and we are ready to bring you along for the ride on MaxSpeedTV. We're up atop the World Center of Racing. My name is Kenneth Bueno. There are so many storylines to follow going into not only race number 1 week from tonight, but going into the duels that we'll have in this feature race. We have 2 sets of 30-lap duels, and we'll explain the format in just a little bit. We'll see exactly how each and every driver are going to automatically place themselves into that TJ's Team 250 race number 1 of the 2022 Season 5 campaign. We had a lot of things happen just a couple of months ago where we crowned the champion, Lawson Peel, and to take away Season 4 of the Championship 5 race at the Texas Motor Speedway. But now we get to do it all over again. And before we get into all the details about tonight's duel action, we'll start with exactly what we're going to see over the course of the year, heading into maybe even the next year as well for the winter into Season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. It all starts right here at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. We'll set the field with these 2 duels, both at 30 laps each. And then we'll have our 100-lap main feature race, the TJ's Team 250, when we kick things off. It'll be same track here at Daytona Beach, Florida. Then we head to Michigan for the second race of the schedule. We go to Nashville Super Speedway, and you can already tell, even if you've watched previous seasons of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series, a lot of the tracks returning on the schedule. I know that COTA definitely was one of the races to watch last season just because of the insane finish between Austin Reedy and Lawson Peel. We saw at Road America how good it was. A lot of the road courses returning, and a lot of the famed ovals, Iowa, though, returning on the schedule after a while of absence. And there's going to be a lot to talk about in this regular season, so much to unpack, and as well as the playoffs heading all the way to what's going to be a brand new, again, season finale, Homestead of Miami Speedway, a different type of 1.5-mile oval. But we start everything tonight here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, and I know many stock car racing fans don't really need introduction as to how this place has become and what it is all about. But we are in virtual Daytona Beach, Florida, and this is exactly the stage that we'll have for the duels and for the first race of season number 5 at Daytona Beach, Florida. 2.5 miles, 4.023 kilometers. It opened all the way back in 1959, banking as high as it could ever be. It's second to Talladega on that mark. 31 degrees you'll find in turns 1 through 4. 18 degrees you'll find in that trial while chasing toward that start-finish line. 3 degrees on the Daytona Super Stretch, as we'll call it, that back straightaway heading into turn 3. It definitely is one of the most unique racetracks in terms of how fast it is, how wide open it is, but with the way these cars are set up, these NASCAR Next Gen machines, it provides for somewhat of a different challenge compared to a lot of other cars you see on the iRacing platform. And compared to what we've seen in real life, seems to be relatively similar to what we've seen in the NASCAR Cup Series over 2022 with that faded Next Gen car. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how each and every driver pans out into this and how each of them will handle the challenges given to them, especially when it comes down to how they will set this grid for the Season 5 TJ's Team 250. So we'll explain the duels a little bit, how each and every one of them will work. There's only 2 of them tonight, so we'll have our first set of 30 laps here in just a couple of moments once qualifying ends here, and then we'll have another set of 30 laps for another feature race. That'll be duel number 2. So this duel sequence, a little different from what you usually see on many leagues across the iRacing platform, even in real life. So all drivers eligible to race for each of the 2 duels. So it's not like each driver is placed in a certain duel. They only have to race that one, and that is it. Drivers can race both of them. And the thing is, if you win the duel, you get the first place starting position. You'll have the pole. If you win duel number 2 later on tonight, you'll get the second place starting spot. But if you don't finish in either of the positions in P1 in either duel, your average finish over the first 2 duels is what's going to give you that starting position. So it's going to be a lot for the field to be able to make both races number 1, but also perform well in both of them as well. They want to have a high starting spot, and we do mention a little bit how track position plays into a track like Daytona International Speedway. Or really anything can happen, but you'd rather be at the front to avoid all of the mayhem. So drivers lined up on the starting grid for the first of two duels we'll see here tonight from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Let's head through the grid, shall we? And it all starts with a new driver in the field, Brandon Colley, one of the rookie drivers in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. He will line himself on pole. He will have the number 45 of Shane Wyatt to his outside in that first row. It's been a while since we've seen Shane Wyatt driving a machine in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Steven Stepien coming fresh off a great performance in the season finale at Texas a couple of months ago. He starts inside row number 2. He will have Austin Reedy to his outside, one of the strongest drivers on the super speedway side here in this 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. We'll watch for him as he starts outside of that row. Cedric Hunter in the 31 will start inside row number 3. He'll have Ryan Taft in the 86 to his outside in P number 6 before you find the drivers lined up in row number 4. Rookie Rodney Roberts for Bacalhau Bueno Racing and Ken MacArthur in the 97 showing up outside. He is P8. Jesse Prees in the 00 into P9, one of the playoff drivers from one season ago. He will have former series champion AJ Green on the inside of the top 10 in row number 5. Cody Kinsey put up a lot of great momentous runs at the end of season number 4. We'll see how he all kicks it off in season 5. He starts 11th. He'll have Jason Hastings rolling alongside him in P12. League owner Tyler Murray and a brand new number here tonight from Daytona for the season. He's the number 16 this time around. He will have CJ Munir in the 89 to his outside in that 7th row, P14. Tristan Bailey in the 15 lines up 15th. He'll have Kevin D'Elia to his outside in the number 53 machine. Joe Sanchez in the 55 is 17th. Craig Lounslugger, our Championship 5 driver for one season ago. He will line up in P18. A lot of work for him to do. And then comes sophomore driver Jaden Port in the 28. Looking to grab some more wins on the calendar. He is P19. Brandon T. Banks to his outside to round out the top 20. Everybody 21st on back, but a lot of big names here. Lawson Peel, your defending series champion. He rolls off in that spot. Lance Hill to his outside in the number 1 in P number 22. Robert Rowe, Adam Alishire to P24 on the racetrack. Michael Newbraw, Brady Cox, the 56, and the 78. Lining up row number 13. Tyler Warner will be row 14. Row 15 will have the drivers behind Chuck Keller, which would be Eric Stewart and Christopher Bishop, the 82 and the 42. Brandon Gillis and Eric Schaefer line up 31st and 32nd. Row 16, Curtis Kelly, Tony Kibbett, and that is the field. 34 cars full, and it looks like Curtis Kelly and Tony Kibbett did not take time in the qualifying session. So they'll start at the dead end of the field. We will have everybody lined up behind the iRacing official pace car. Let's take a look at the weather before we get started here from Daytona Beach, Florida. It is in November, so it's a little cooler, but relatively the same. Florida's always warm around this time of year. 74 degrees in the air, 77 degrees on the track temp. We are under sunset conditions here from Daytona Beach, Florida. Winds to the northeast at around 7 to 8 miles an hour. Anticipation only continuing to build as the field will try and set themselves for race number 1 in 1 week time. Brandon Colley, Shane Wyatt lead us to the green flag. We're racing in season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series and duel number 1. Field clean through lap number 1. Brandon Colley able to hold the field at bay. Steven Stepien, Shane Wyatt rounding out your top 3, and already most of them through the top 5. Already looking to the inside, close to that double yellow line, and looking to remain as calm as possible. That outside fizzling out. That one led by Rodney Roberts in the number 29. You see him there in his Toyota Camry. May have a couple of patrons, though, moving up the racetrack, and it all starts with Jesse Prees, Cody Kinsey, and maybe even AJ Green, the Season 3 champion at the Atlanta Motor Speedway a couple of months back. They're going to work the high side, but so far, Brandon Colley holding control out of turn 4. somewhat aggressive the field has been over the first lap or so as we cross the line from lap 2. Already a second pack developing near the rear. We'll keep an eye on that. But for the moment, it looks like the field wants to make sure track position is at an utmost high. And Jesse Prees getting a huge run out of turn 2. Help from Cody Kinsey. To the outside he'll go on Brandon Colley, and to the race lead, or the dual lead I should say, Jesse Prees to the front, back to turn 3. We talk about how well teammates can work together to make things happen out of the racetrack, specifically at these super speedways. And we're going to see a lot of that, not only in the opening race of the season 1 week from tonight, but in these dual races. It gives you an opportunity to test how you are in comparison to the competition, most notably how you perform with your team. And for the moment right now, Jesse Prees, Cody Kinsey working fluently together, taking the lead as of lap 4. You can look at the couple of drivers there on the outsides. It looks like Rodney Roberts got a bit loose, had a huge shove from the 96 of Austin Reedy, and already a couple of cars getting wobbly near the rear of the field. That all starts with Adam Alishire in the 91, a new sponsor, a new manufacturer, and a brand new number. We saw him bearing the number 14 just 1 season ago. Picked up a win at the Watkins Glen International Circuit in New York prior to the start of our playoffs. And Adam Alishire so far working P16 on the racetrack. Still a lot of time to go. Only 4 laps complete out of the 30 we have here tonight in duel number 1 from Daytona. And a good look right behind the number 89 of CJ Munoz. A little bit of a wobble happens in front of them. That was the 16-year league owner, Tyler Murray. I think he might have gotten checked up there on the very bottom of the track with Austin Reedy. And they slowed down dramatically and gave everybody the opportunity on the outside to catch some of the draft and gain some momentum. There's Roberts looking down low. Sanchez is going to be the sole patron up at the top to lead that group. But so far, the inside seems to be the best place to be. And not a lot of risky moves being played in the opening laps in duel number 1, just because nobody wants to wreck their car that early on. That's what makes this format so interesting and unique compared to what usually the duel format is. You usually have a qualifying session where the drivers who end up first and second on the qualifying sheets are going to be first and second. They label the front row in the actual race when they drop the green. But for practically everybody else, then they have to figure themselves out in the midst of the dual races and then get their starting positions from there. But not often do you see an average being pulled from both races. So you will see a couple of drivers try different things, maybe in duel 1 or duel number 2. But the utmost goal, of course, is to grab the best position possible and be able to make way at the end. It looks like we got trouble though. Field spanning around. That was Lance Hill in the number 1, and I think he may have potential tolling damage on the right front. This is a Ross Chastain paint scheme he's running, and the number 1 of Lance Hill already off to a tough start. We'll see exactly how this happened. He was running in the midst of the first pack, and it looked like just had trouble. Right on board with the driver, the 1. Just stayed up high, maybe just a wobble here. You see Craig Launslager moving up to the high side, and Hill was not anticipating that. It looked like he wasn't going to check up for it. And Lance Hill ends up into the outside wall. He has since put it down to pit road. I believe he may have gotten a faster pair. And his night not necessarily over, but he's going to fall to 32nd. And there is the field already going to put 1 lap down or more. Take a look on the other side of the racetrack. This is where the main field of cars are, starting with Jesse Prees, your current race leader. Yet to be changed, though. Cody Kinsey yet to challenge, and here comes a big side draft from the outside lane, maybe even a third developing at CJ Munier. Lawson Peel working at it as Sanchez tries to make something happen on the bottom. He'll be shuffling to 3rd, and Ken MacArthur, the leader, on the top in the middle. Sanchez weaving his way to 3rd, one of the playoff drivers from 1 season ago. And Sanchez already making quick work in the opening 9 laps. As Ken MacArthur went out and looked to the outside, so he'll have help from the 91 of Adam Alashire, the 28 of Jaden Porter. A couple of Camaros behind them. We mentioned CJ Munier and Lawson Peel now working together as MacArthur gets very loose right there on the rear end of his Ford Mustang and almost about spun the race car. And this is something you have to worry about with these next gens. It's been a while since these guys have gone super speedway racing in this configuration with these cars. And unlike Gen 6, unlike the previous generations, you have a fully curved rear bumper, and you can't really see it off of the front end, or off of the rear end here of Ken MacArthur. You can see it more so, let's say, on the front end of another car. This is Lawson Peel behind CJ Munier, your defending series champion, and you can see the curved rear bumper, not only on the number 89 in front of him, but you see on the 31 machine of Cedric Hunter, on the 29 machine of Rodney Roberts. These bumpers can easily misalign if you make a bump in the wrong place at the wrong time, and for Ken MacArthur, that could have easily been disastrous. Luckily, we stay green. A big checkup and a driver into the outside wall, and that might have been Adam Alashire. MacArthur and Alashire fall deep through the field. They're going to make it 3 wide. That's Austin Riddy on the inside. CJ Munier having to check up for it. They're wobbling on the racetrack on the bottom. That's the 53 of Kevin D'Elia. And it looks like we will escape the potential first caution at lap 10 in duel number 1. We'll take a look at how this happened with Adam Alashire and Ken MacArthur. And they were working together well, and just right there, got hit into the outside walls. It looks like we might have just had a caution out on the racetrack field trying to scramble around. And it might have been Ken MacArthur, CJ Munier, potentially involved in the incident to bring us our first yellow, and it does involve the driver of the 97, the 13 of Craig Lounslugger in it, and it was 3 wide in the middle. Well, they get collected together. We'll see it one more time. This is on the front of the driver of the 97, so he's falling back to the field. He hit the outside wall, had some damage, the whole field going by. There, all of a sudden making it 3, and right here, just ran out of space. And nothing that the 97 or the 13 could do by the time they made contact. The 13 goes sideways. I believe he fortunately escapes any severe damage that could take him out of duel number 1. That is a tough break there. Again, track position so important in each of these duels. It's, again, the average finish in duel number 1 and duel number 2 that will get you your starting position by the time we wave the green 1 week from tonight. So you have to make sure everything is dialed in at the right time. And for the 97 and the 13, looks like they will have some more work to do as we enter the final 20 laps into our roughly our first third of the 30 laps here in duel number 1. So Jesse Prees, your current race leader, and gave us a little bit of a preview of maybe what we can expect by the time we get back here in just 1 week time, and even when we get to the likes of Talladega, the other super speedway races out on the schedule. A lot of hectic racing already, as it looks like the field will come down pit road this time by Jesse Prees. Going to lead them all in. It's a long trip there to each of the boxes. Jesse Prees is going to make his way in, of course. Brandon Colley, the number 11, one of the rookie drivers in Season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. He'll have the first stall, and he'll let everybody through. And it's all about how they can make their way out of pit road. It looks like AJ Green might have already beaten the field to it. Got only fuel on the stop, 5.8 seconds. He beats Colley out, and AJ Green will be the respective leader out of pit road. Jesse Prees, the biggest loser, dropping a couple of spots. He's down to 5th. And there's a look at Robert Rowe, who's going to stay out this time through. And so he will assume the race lead. Looks like he's not going to pit this time by. And he has Eric Stewart behind him, but that is a lap car. He is 6 laps down. Only 2 cars, 1 lap down or more right now. Lance Hill is 2 laps down, so he'll try to get a lap back. Eric Stewart, 6 laps down. You see him right behind the driver of the number 14 machine. Robert Rowe, one of the newer drivers in the batch of rookies of half of maybe 5 or 6 that are bearing the rookie stripes this season in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Brandon Colley, also one of them. And so they will all line up. There's Lance Hill as well in the number 1 machine. So it looks like he might get a lap back. Same deal with Robert Rowe. Well, not Robert Rowe. He didn't go around the pace car, but we'll see if he comes down pit road. It looks like the answer might be no. I was about to mention Eric Stewart as well. So he's going to come around when the pace car gets its lights off. So over the first 13 laps, a little bit of chaos here from Daytona, but everybody getting their little pre-race jitters out and their opening race jitters out as well. And it looks like we will have a solid run to the restart. And Robert Rowe is going to confirm his decision to stay out on the racetrack. So him, AJ Green, Brandon Colley, Steven Stepien, and Cedric Hunter will round out your current top 5. Jesse Prees, we talked about him falling back. He's going to be on the inside of row number 3. Joe Sanchez, Cody Kinsey will be back to 7th and 8th on the racetrack. Austin Reedy and Jaden Porter will be currently 9th and 10th out on the banking. So under yellow here in duel number 1 of 2 here in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series for season number 5 from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. And we'll just remind you that our coverage tonight on MaxSpeedTV is brought to you by 213 Simware. 213 Simware offers fun novelty sim racing apparel with a variety of styles, sizes, and more for you to enjoy and rep sim racing on and off the track. Shop today and learn more at 213simware.com. So we talk about some of the biggest names in the series, most notably from the last time we raced in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, which was a couple of months ago. Lawson Peel, your defending champion. He currently sits in P11 right now. Brandon Banks started pretty far deep in the field, and it looks like he has moved his way up to P18 out of the racetrack. Craig Launsluger via that crash to bring out the caution. He is 31st out of the track. Eric Schaefer, who had also made the Championship 5 just a couple of months ago, he is all the way back in P27, and AJ Green, the highest out of them all, outside in row number 1. Pace car makes its way down to pit road. Robert Rowe, AJ Green to the green with 16 laps to go in duel 1. Clean run into turn 1 and 2 again for that inside lane. It's been the best way around so far, but here comes a huge run on behalf of the 48, and he will have no caution right behind the driver of the 14. Green will look down low with switchover. AJ Green to the lead in duel 1. Look at how consistent Green has been for such a long time, even though he's only been around for roughly 2 seasons in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and your Season 3 champion up to the front of the field. Brandon Colley to follow, and nobody looking up high. It looks like Rowe trying to find some help on behalf of the 93 of Cody Kinsey, but can't quite do it, and Kinsey is sideways in the middle of the field, and we may have our first big one. We do. Multiple cars in it. Joe Sanchez gets a piece. Tyler Murray, Shane Wyatt, Adam Alashire, Tyler Warner in the 33. And the caution flag is out for the second time in duel 1. There's a look at Kinsey, his car all torn up on the front. And even more carnage as Tyler Murray tries to get back up to speed. The 13 of Craig Launsluger might have caught this as well. And a simple mistake at the front creates carnage. And it looked like it might have all started with Cody Kinsey there at the very front of the field, as he was getting a push there, and he was right behind Robert Rowe and his machine. So here's a look at them. So this is coming out of the trial win at turn 1. See Jaden Porter duck down low. Austin Reedy gets a huge run going into the first corner. He tries to split it in the middle 3. And then all of a sudden, Cody Kinsey cannot anticipate. He shuts the door. The space is gone. And at some point, they were going to make contact. They made it right about there into the 31 degrees of banking. Sideways, Kinsey went. And really, it wasn't Kinsey that caused the huge carnage. It was really what happened in front of him. There's Tyler Murray involved. His TJ's machine torn up as well. Ken MacArthur slightly getting a piece of that. We'll look on board with the driver, the number 16. There's nowhere he could go. Lawson Peel trying to avoid. He slams into his Drinking Bros Racing teammate, Joe Sanchez. And then around they go, and as everybody travels up the track, nobody could escape. See Brandon Banks with big damage there, one of our Championship 5 drivers from 1 season ago. He also gets a bit of contact. Here's a look on board with a 53. This is sort of an odd angle. Can't really see in front. You can tell just how large the carnage is. As Banks gets some of the worst of it, you see the tolling damage there on both the left and the right side of his Chevy Camaro. And he has since brought it down pit road and the field again behind the iRacing official pace car for the 2nd time officially, as we are just almost halfway here in, or really over halfway in duel number 1, 18 laps complete out of the 30. So we will approach roughly maybe 11 to 10 laps to go when we get this restart, and that's going to be huge for all of those guys. These cars are awarded a fast repair here tonight at Daytona for each of the duels. So if you do get involved in a crash, you can get a fresh race car. But for a lot of them, most notably those guys who had suspension damage, might have been stuck, they have been put 1 lap down or more. Remember, they're also fighting against the guys who are currently 1 lap down or more on the racetrack. Lance Hill, who's looking to get his lap back. Eric Stewart, who's still trying to gain some momentum back. He's been trapped 6 laps down since the first batch of trouble. And then everybody else going to join him. There's Rodney Roberts getting his damage repair. Looks like he also ticked off the fast repair. Same deal for Adam Alishire in the 91. Ken MacArthur, Tyler Murray among those groups, and a bunch of other drivers taking the fresh repair early on with 12 laps to go. And that's going to be something we talk about not only tonight, not only in race number 1, but in the entire course of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series schedule. We harped on it a while back in Season 4, and even before that, the opportunity of 1 fast repair to get a clean race car if you find trouble once the green flag drops. It's so important to have that in your back pocket. We've talked about how a lot of drivers use it as a strategy where they try to make sure that they maybe get reckless a little later on in the race, then use that fast repair near the end where they'll have the best race car, instead of having to use it so early in the race where you really have to be on pins and needles, on your tippy toes, making sure you do not get any type of damage on the car, because that is going to give you some more time to deal with that on pit road, going to deal with lost time, and even worse, in some of the cases, most notably the short tracks, you get put a lap down or more, and that's going to be a big problem, especially when you're going points racing, and most notably, if you want to win a race. This is a playoff format we'll have over the course of Season 5, much like we've had for the past couple of seasons. So if you do get a win, you're automatically with a bid into the playoffs at the end of the season. And while tonight win isn't necessarily on anyone's mind to get into the playoffs, a win is going to mean a lot for that very first and second starting positions in the TJ's Team 250. So AJ Green will lead us to green with Brandon Colley along him on the inside. So Green chooses the outside this time through Cedric Hunter. Steven Stepien among those in row number 2. Joe Sanchez inside the top 5. He was involved in that incident, but he was able to get out of it. Jesse Priest, Jaden Porter, Robert Rowe, Brandon Gillis, and Austin Reedy going to be the last ones inside your top 10. So a lot of chaos already from Daytona in duel number 1. We will have roughly 10 laps to settle it and to see where everybody finishes on the first of 2 we'll have this evening. And it'll be AJ Green in control of the field. Pace car makes its way down to the entrance of pit road. AJ Green onto the gas into the Geico restart zone. Duel 1 back underway with 11 laps to go. And here comes Brandon Colley, help from Steven Stepien on the very outside. They're going to make it work. Only 2 cars, maybe 3. If you bring in the 31 of Cedric Hunter, Brandon Colley to the race lead out of turn 2. And you look at how well-formed that outside lane is in comparison to what we've seen on previous restarts. It feels like there's more dissipation out of that second lane at the very top of the racetrack compared to the inside. AJ Green, with help from Joe Sanchez, going to get a big run out of turn 4, and he will fight back. A little wobble out of the pink and yellow number 48, but Green will take back control of the duel with 10 laps to go from Daytona. And now here comes Sanchez, a spin behind. Couple of cars around on the inside of the racetrack. Tristan Bailey, the 24 machine. And around they go, but they are under the racing surface. I believe they came back up, so caution flag is out again. And Tristan Bailey, one of the ones involved. And I believe Robert Rowe to follow as well. We'll see how it all began, but you watched it all, the rear end of AJ Green as he was getting past for P1. It was just a carnage here up at the front. Looks like a big stack up on the top. They might have gone 3 wide. That was Lawson Peel looking to the middle and just got trapped. It looked like there was absolutely nowhere to go. And then for Tristan Bailey and for Robert Rowe, they both get a piece of it. I think there was a third car involved in it as well. We'll try to officially identify who that was. They made contact up at the front. And that's the 6 machine. I believe that's Michael Newbraw, who gets a piece of that. He goes sideways as well. So he just gets tagged last minute. Fortunately, it looks like all of them going to escape without any significant damage. Here's a look on board from Newbraw. And nothing he could do. A quick 360. And he's able to save the race car. Fortunately, though, the caution comes out to save them. Usually, at a lot of the tracks here on iRacing, if you do spin below the racing surface, the race control will not throw the caution. And the green flag will stay out. We could have easily gone green there if they kept it off of the banking above that double yellow line. But fortunately for them, they're able to get a saving grace, and the caution flag comes out with roughly 9 laps to go. And a new race leader as well, Joe Sanchez, taking it away at the last second in front of AJ Green. Had some help behind him, a lot of help. Jesse Prees, Austin Reedy, and Chuck Keller are the ones now to round out your current top 5. And what a race we've seen up at the front. A lot of aggressive moves. Remember AJ Green's move on Robert Rao to make it a lead change. And so we will be behind the iRacing official pace car once more into the final lap. So we're not expecting fully an organic green-white checkered. We should go green probably with around 6 to 7 laps to go from Daytona. I believe 6 may be the magic number, maybe 5. But if we do get another caution, we will have the opportunity to end this race under green-white checkered circumstances. We'll explain those rules in just a little bit if we get to that point. Although if we do end this race under green, we won't really have to explain it until we get to that point. But for the moment, Joe Sanchez is going to hold control. Sanchez, a winner last season. Only picked up 1 win, though, in the campaign a couple of months ago. And it was rather early in the season. Race number 9 at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway made the playoffs. Unfortunately, was not able to get past the first couple of rounds. Didn't make the championship 5. But Sanchez, one of the strongest drivers in this 4-wide Racing Cup Series. One of the veterans, if you can call him that. Been around for a couple of seasons already. And it's insane just to think the field of drivers that we have that have been around for so long. You look back to the 42. Christopher Bishop, one of them. Brandon Gillis, one of them. The driver of the number 9 machine. And then you look at some of the younger guns. Jaden Porter, who's in his first official full season. Technically made starts at the latter half of last season's campaign. But he's in it for full time this time around for Bacalhau Bueno Racing. Chuck Keller, a name we haven't seen at all in the 4-wide Racing Cup Series. Austin Reedy, who's been around for a long time. Lawson Peel, who's one of the newer ones, but has been one of the strongest. And just the entire cast of new drivers and veterans all merging together to form this 4-wide Racing Cup Series field for Season 5. And what an exciting time it's going to be for Daytona in 1 week time. When we come back here for the TJ's Team 250, we go 100 laps in that main race. And then we'll decide who will be the first driver to enter their playoffs with the golden ticket. But for now, they have to decide who's going to be where when we drop the green. We'll run through the order just for you real quick. AJ Green, Joe Sanchez in row number 1. Austin Reedy, Jesse Prees in 3rd and 4th. Brandon Colley to round out the top 5. Chuck Keller, P6. Cedric Hunter in P7. It'll be 8th for Steven Stepien. 9th for Brandon Gillis. Jaden Porter inside your current top 10. It's a beautiful night as well here in Sim from Daytona. We are not sure whether we're going to have the similar conditions for the TJ's Team 250, but nonetheless, it is going to be so much fun. When we kick things off for the schedule, we'll look back at it in just or just right now. I was going to say in just a couple of moments. We're about to go green, though, so this is exactly what we're going to see in Season 5 as we get ready for a restart in Duel number 1 with 6 laps to go. You can just look at all the different types of tracks we're going to be visiting over the course of the schedule. And it is definitely going to be a lot of fun once we get to the rest of the schedule. I know Nashville Super Speedway posed a wild race in the daylight. Daytona going to be on the schedule again. A lot of the road courses, which were stunning ends to those. Great finishes, great battles between all the guys in the series, and all the different types of challenges to bring us a playoff field. They're wrecking under caution. That's the 86 machine. Involved Ryan Taft and Tyler Warner getting into it. I'm not sure whether we're going to restart this officially under green, and we will not, with 6 laps to go. And they're still wrecking under caution. It's the 13 of Craig Lounslugger getting turned at the very last second. What is going on? You saw it in the background. Him and Taft made contact as they were pacing. Here's a look from the 33. It looks like Taft absolutely nowhere in sight. He's at least on the bottom there in that Kellogg's machine, and it just drifts up and just slams into the 33 of Warner. I'm not sure why, not sure if there were any problems between the two, but Taft is just going to hook it right and slam into the 33, and then got a third driver involved, Craig Lounslugger, another one in it as well. Look here from the onboard on the 86 of Taft. Oh, it looks like might have just been a misshift there. The car went immediately to the right, could not do anything about it, so it didn't look intentional at all. And that might have just been a big mistake there for Taft, who gets a couple of other drivers with more damage. And unfortunately, deals himself more damage as well. And we will stay under caution. We go an extra lap. We will try to settle this race under green. We will cross the line with 5 laps to go in Duel 1 from Daytona. Pace car makes its way down to the safety of pit road into the Geico restart zone. Joe Sanchez will go. He'll hop on the gas. Final 5 in Duel number 1 from Daytona. Solid start for the outside lane. More cars up there as well. 4 versus 2. That's Austin Riddy giving a huge shove to the rear end of the 48. That's AJ Green in front. And they'll move to the inside. They'll wobble down low. Austin Riddy going to be able to hold through for second. But here comes Brandon Colley with a run up top. Bit of space there for the tandem, and it seems to be working. Look at the amount of cars on the high side, starting with that number 11. And the tandem working so far. They're going to switch lanes. Here comes Reedy to the bottom. Colley going to make it 3 wide at the start-finish line with 4 laps to go. Brandon Colley to the front. And now Cedric Hunter will move to the inside, and his number 31 machine, the Mustangs, working together. That's Curtis Kelly at the very top, and that's 71, the bright blue machine. Now here comes Hunter up top. AJ Green, they'll stack, they'll spin, and around the whole field will go. Behind the 11 of Colley, caution flag is out. The big one in Duel number 1. And AJ Green is in it. Austin Riddy also picking up damage. It looks like Cedric Hunter was involved to follow. Looks like Jesse Prees also picked up some damage. And we have our biggest wreck of the night so far in Duel 1 within 4 laps to go. And we talk about how big of a run you can get with these next-gen cars in the draft. We explained it at the Super Speedway races last season, and we're going to harp on it one more time. With these next-gen cars, you have so much air being pushed underneath that diffuser, and this next-gen car just gets a huge run on the back of another in the draft. And it looks like it just happened right about there in the wrong place as they were making a move. And the 31 of Cedric Hunter. You watch him here, that bright pink number 31. You see Joe Sanchez almost forced it 3 wide. That could have also been a caution if he made contact furthermore with Curtis Kelly. There's the 31. He goes up top. Colley looks to block. They all stack up. They even make contact behind. There's Brandon Gillis involved as well. So it looks like as the move was made, everybody stacked up, and there was nothing anyone could do. There's a look on board from AJ Green. Look at Austin Reedy in there as well. The big slam of Brandon Gillis. 7 machine of Chuck Keller in it. And it looks like everybody practically involved except for Brandon Colley, who was able to escape that at the very front. And now that will shuffle the running order significantly. Lawson Peel to 4th. Jaden Porter to 5th. Steven Stepien, Tony Kibbett, Jason Hastings, Brady Cox, and the 97 of Ken MacArthur now to round out your current top 10, as it looks like we will officially grab our first attempt at a green-white checkered in the first duel of 2 tonight for the 4-wide Racing Cup Series in season number 5. So we'll explain it for you in just a moment. Now we'll explain how everything will go. So we'll have a couple of attempts to make our way to the finish under green. We'll have a 2-lap to go restart. If the field does not get to the white flag and a caution comes out before they get there, then we will rack them up and do it all over again. I believe we have a total of 3 attempts to get this race finished under green in duel number 1. It'll be the same for duel number 2 and every single race in season 5 of the 4-wide Racing Cup Series. If the leader does get to the white flag, though, we will race it back to the start-finish line in classic style. If they crash on the way there, it will not matter. It's always about who finishes first at the line, barring any decisions from race control to appeal. And that will be the winner in duel number 1, and that will be the first driver officially set on the pole for the TJ's Team 250. And Brandon Colley looking to get a pole here for the TJ's Team 250 in 1 week time. It will be big for the rookie driver to be able to grab that accomplishment. Joe Sanchez, Curtis Kelly, though, they've been around the series for a while. And they know definitely what's at stake if they can get to a win. We've seen many different drivers get to victory lane at a track like this in the super speedways where anything can happen and very unpredictable these races can go. And we will double them up. Lights are out on the iRacing official pace car, so we will take one more trip around and we'll have our first attempt at a green-white checker. Just an update on AJ Green. He has towed to pit road. He is 32nd. Tyler Warner is back in 31st. And they are joined with Ryan Tapp, Brandon Banks, Eric Stewart, and Craig Laumslager as the handful of drivers 29th on through 34th that are all 1 lap down or more out on the racetrack. Cody Kinsey did not pick up his faster pair, but he's at the tail end of the field. There he is in 28th, and the whole field right behind him coming out of turn 2, so he needs to make up a lot of ground. Tyler Murray, who also had used his faster pair tonight, he has fallen to 27th. Jesse Priest is caught up with the field. He is 26th. Some of the drivers that have done remarkably well to start, but have had the race turn for the worse. And it looks like they'll just have to try the best they can to either win duel number 2 or finish the best way they can, because, again, it goes by average finish in each of the 2 duels. So if you finish well in duel number 1 and you don't win, but you also finish well in duel number 2 and also not win, chances are you'll probably finish 3rd on back, or maybe through the top 10 in single-digit positions. And that will mean a lot in the midst of the field. And you also want to center yourself around teammates. We've seen how important they can be at these super speedways, how well you can work together. Immediately, I think of Austin Reedy and Kyle Benson, the 2 Murray Reedy Motorsports cars, how well they were able to cohesively work with one another in the draft and make moves, be aggressive. And so if you want to start the TJ's Team 250 off in the right way, you want to have it near the front of the field and with your teammates if it's possible. Ready for our first attempt at a green-white checkered in duel number 1. 2 laps to go. Brandon Colley up at the front, back to turn 1. More cars at the top again. 4 cars now bringing a couple of more, though, on the bottom, so they will retaliate. Lawson Peel giving the push to Brandon Colley. He'll block down low, and here comes defending series champion Lawson Peel for the lead going to turn 3. Tried to make a move happen on the inside, got the door shut as Colley had a huge run from Sanchez. He wobbles a bit on the rear end. They'll try and tally themselves together. They will even out of turn 4, and here comes Austin Reedy and Steven Stepien to make it 3. They'll crash just before the trial. Will the caution come out? Answer is no, so the white flag will go in duel 1. 5 cars left. Stepien moves to the bottom with Sanchez to follow. And Porter stuck all the way at the very top. Everybody single file. Can anyone catch up in enough time? Now here comes Stepien to the very bottom. Peel with absolutely nowhere to go. Sanchez to make it 3. They make contact. Final time in a 3 and 4. Stepien looking to start on pole 1 week from tonight. Jaden Porter, the sophomore, looking to steal it all away. At a turn 4, Porter moves to the high side. Stepien down low, door to door to the line, and duel number 1 goes to Steven Stepien, and he will start on pole for the TJ's Team 250. What an unbelievable finish. Our first attempt at a green-white checkered goes to the end. There's AJ Green wrecking across turns 1 and 2. But Steven Stepien will have the hot seat. In 1 week time from the very same track. Jaden Porter comes home just short in second. That is a 2 1,000ths of a second difference at the start-finish line. We have to look at it one more time. And Steven Stepien able to make some magic happen against Lawson Peel. Here he is on the final lap. As they wreck behind them, I anticipated a caution was going to come out, but it did not. And then here comes Stepien, a brave move all by himself on the inside. Finds the fate with Sanchez and Colley to follow. Porter tucks in line. And this run big enough to move to the bottom, shuffle Peel out of the way. And he had the help from there to get around Peel. Sanchez moves to the middle. Porter and the 55 make contact. But Peel does a solid job to hold faith on the bottom and prevent a race-losing block on Jaden Porter. There goes Porter to the top. Rodney Roberts and Lawson Peel making contact, coming to the line. And then as Porter tried his very hardest to get Stepien out of his groove, just could not do it. And Stepien takes the win by 2 1,000ths of a second. And one of the closest finishes we've seen overall. But Steven Stepien, your winner in duel number 1. Stepien burning it down from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. And with that, we will take a look at our official race results in the first duel of 2 tonight from Daytona Beach, Florida. Steven Stepien wins over Jaden Porter by 2 1,000ths of a second. And Stepien will have the front row seat pole sitter for the TJ's Team 250. Brandon Colley had such a strong run all evening long in this first duel, and he finishes in 3rd. Definitely a run to prove it. Joe Sanchez to finish in 4th. Eric Schaefer inside your top 5. Ronnie Roberts to finish in P6. Lawson Peel to finish 7th. Ken MacArthur, Lance Hill, and CJ Munier to round out your top 10 in the first duel. These are everybody 11th on back. A lot of them involved in a crash coming to the white flag. Christopher Bishop, Tristan Bailey to finish 11th and 12th. Shane Wyatt returning after a long absence in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. He finishes 13th in the first duel. Brady Cox to finish 14th. It'll be the top 15 for your league owner. Tyler Murray had some ups and downs here in this race. We'll see what he could do to pick things back up in a couple of moments' time. Michael Newbraw finishes 16th. It'll be 17th for Brandon Gillis, 18th for Jesse Prees, 19th for Kevin D'Elia, and Cody Kinsey rounding out your top 20. There's everybody 21st on back. A lot of them suffering here at the end of this race. Chuck Keller, Adam Alashire, Cedric Hunter, Tony Kibbett, Jason Hastings to your top 25. Austin Reedy having such a strong run near the end, got caught up in another crash near the the finish. He finishes 26th. It'll be 27th for Robert Rao, who had such a great run to start and just had problems later on. Curtis Kelly, 28th. 29th for Brandon T. Banks. Ryan Taft to round out your top 30. Banks and Taft, the first two drivers, one lap down or more. And this is everybody 31st through 34th. AJ Green caught up in crashes after a strong start to the race. Tyler Warner, Eric Stewart, and the 13 of Craig Lounslarger. All of them either looking to win duel number 2 outright or to try and finish as high as they can in order to get that average finishing position to start up near the front in the TJ's Team 250 in 1 week time. A lot more to cover from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. With that, we'll take a short break, but you won't miss a thing here from Daytona Beach, Florida. We'll have Duels on the other side right here on MaxSpeedTV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
The best, you got them more abreast, often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws! Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
Welcome back to the virtual Daytona International Speedway. The sun already set, the moonlight is out, the trek lights are on, and we have a Duel 1 winner in the form of Steven Stepien in the 8th machine, who gets to victory lane by 2/1000ths of a second over the driver, the number 28 in Jaden Porter. We'll see if we have a moment to talk with the driver of the number 8 machine and see if we can end up in victory lane, somewhat dual victory lane as we call it, for the first of our 2 duels here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Here we are joined by the driver of the 8 winner in duel number 1. Steven, how were you able to do that? I know there were only a couple of cars after they crashed coming to the white flag, but you get the duel win and you're starting up front for the TJ's Team 250.
Head off and kind of go into this race and help my teammates out a little bit, stress-free. But just hanging on. Coming down to the backstretch, I'm surprised Lawson gave me the bottom. I was actually going to try to push him and try to make a run on him in the last turn, but he gave me the bottom and just tried ducking it well enough that he can give me the side draft. And luckily I have Polly behind me, my teammate, help me push and get the win there and just hang on at the line. But it was fun. It was a fun finish. I can't complain about that, you know, photo finish.
I know that Duel 2 is still open for grabs, especially for you. You can still race a little bit more against the competition, but can you give us a feel of what that was like? This may be somewhat the preview of what the field will look like, how the racing will be here at Daytona by the time we actually start regular season racing at this very track. So for you, were there any notes you specifically took in Duel number 1, or did it just go the way you expected?
Yeah, I took down some notes. Obviously, the side draft is really powerful. Give away all my tips for the race next week, but yeah, some things we learned and hopefully working together as a team. Me, Cedric, Polly, Shane there. We kind of got split up there a couple runs, but glad me and Polly found each other at the end and pulled out a win for the team, so happy about that.
And you talk about the team, Lights Out Esports, officially a debut team in this 4-wide racing cup series for season number 5, and you joining them in that campaign. So what does this mean for you to get a dual win on behalf of not only yourself, but a new team entering the series as well?
I just look on to build the momentum, you know. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come, get a couple of wins. We'll see what happens, but looking forward to it. Pretty excited, especially this race. I think you guys are in for a little bit more of a show than last race, which I don't know how that's possible, but it's going to be interesting.
Well, you had me holding my breath as you were going to the start-finish line. 2/1000ths of a second. You get the dual 1 win. You're going to be starting on pole for the TJ's Team 250. Congratulations on the win. Congratulations on the pole for next week's race, and hopefully we'll see you in duel number 2.
I appreciate it, Kenneth. Enjoy the duel number 2.
So that is Duel 1 winner Steven Stepien there on the mic as he was able to take the checkered flag by 2/1000ths of a second. Unbelievable finish in duel number 1. And he told us that we probably are going to expect more chaos, some more excitement in duel number 2. Remember, a lot of the drivers in this field, pretty much everybody can run the second duel that'll open in just a little bit. So you know, there's still that opportunity for another driver to take the checkered, another chance for maybe a closer finish, one 1,000th of a second. Who knows? But so far, not disappointed whatsoever in this first of 2 duels from Daytona Beach, Florida. So we'll take a short break. We'll hop into the other session and get you ready for duel number 2, our final one. More 30-lap action here from Daytona in just a couple of moments. Again, don't go anywhere. We've got more for you on the other side right here on MaxSpeedTV. One duel down, one more to go as we cap off the second duel of 2 here tonight to start off Season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series right here live on MaxSpeedTV. Kenneth Lennon with you in the broadcast booth to give you all of the action tonight. We just had a stellar finish to duel number 1. If you weren't able to watch that, it was Steven Stempy and Jaden Porter to the line, pretty much banging doors with each other until they got to it, and it was 2/1000ths of a second. Steven Stempy now will start on the pole for the TJ's Team 250 in the opening race of season number 5. So with that, we head over into our second 30-lap feature, duel number 2. Remember, in our duel format, we do have the average finish on both races to give the starting positions for each and every driver, except for the winners in duel 1 and duel 2. So one spot already captured by Stepien. Now we'll see if another driver is able to take the crown, this time by to start alongside him in row number 1. So it's going to be a lot of fun there with the racing we saw in that first duel, the crashes, the chaos, and some of the daring moves. We should expect some of the same. We are also going to expect at least one pit stop, a few to make it all the way to the end. We didn't really highlight that in the first duel, but these guys did come down pit road under caution, and we should expect them to do the same this time around. Though, if the caution does not come out in time, they may have some green flag pit stops, could add some strategy to the duel, and may also give us another preview as to what we could expect if the 100-lap feature for Daytona in 1 week time goes green almost all the way or goes long enough for drivers to head onto pit road. Qualifying underway right now, about a minute and a half before we officially get started and wave the green here for the second and final race here for our coverage. But if you're loving the action that we're seeing so far here tonight in duel number 1, excited for duel number 2, then you are sure to be excited for what we're going to see in the Season 5 schedule. I know we've talked about it a couple of times already, but we just have to keep highlighting it. We were at the shootout a couple of weeks back at the Monza Oval. That was a lot of fun, but we get to a lot of the typical ovals, a lot of the typical tracks that we'll see on the schedule. We actually stay on the 2-mile plus ovals once we get out of Daytona next week. It'll be at the Michigan International Speedway, so we'll go to the bigger track there. Nashville Super Speedway, where Jaden Porter took his first career 4 Wide Racing Cup Series win. We'll head there really early in the campaign. We were there in the playoffs, so it's going to be a different look there that time by. Las Vegas returns early in the season. Watkins Glen makes an early appearance as race number 4. Usually, it's near the tail end of the regular season, but this time it's a little earlier. The league owners, Tyler Murray, and all of the admins decided to shake a lot of things up. Atlanta, we should also expect another Super Speedway race in there as well. We're going to get official confirmation as to whether that is the 2008 iRacing scan of Atlanta, the harder one to drive, or the new Super Speedway that was built specifically for the 2022 season. Circuit of the Americas makes its return as a crazy race that we saw 1 season ago and a wild finish coming out of turn number 20. It wasn't over till it was over. Texas Motor Speedway, which was the finale race just a couple of months ago, this time in the backstab middle of the regular season, and then we head all the way to Daytona 2. That'll be the second time and the last time we see Daytona International Speedway on the schedule. That is for the regular season finale. AJ Green was able to take the win that time through, and then we head to Bristol, Sonoma to kick off the first round of the playoffs, and then it's Charlotte Motor Speedway, Talladega, Phoenix, and then we will bring it down to the Championship 5 in 2023 at Homestead and Miami Speedway. Still a long ways to go before we even come close to talking about what we will expect heading into the end of Season 5 and which drivers will be featured in that Championship 5 list. But for now, drivers are lined up on the entrance of pit road. It is our time to take a look at your starting grid and see exactly where every single driver will begin duel number 2. And it all starts with Michael Newbraw setting the fastest time of them all. He'll have the front row seat to the green flag. You'll have Cedric Hunter, who was close to the win in the first duel a couple of moments ago. He starts outside in row number 1. League owner Tyler Murray looking to pick things back up and get a better average finish over the first 2 duels. He starts third. Tony Kivitt will be to his outside in P number 4. To round out your top 5 will be the 0-0 of Jesse Priest. Had some problems late in duel 1. Will look to pick things back up this time around. Joe Sanchez looking to keep his consistency high as he starts in P6 outside row number 3. Shane White for Lights Out Esports in the number 45 will roll off P7. It'll be Stocks Motorsports' Lance Hill in the number 1 machine in P8. Hill had some struggles late in the going in duel number 1. Cody Kinsey, Kyle Benson to round out your top 10. Kyle Benson, first time we see him here tonight for either of the duels. I don't believe he was able to make the first one, so nice to see him make the second, although because he didn't make the first, he will get a dead last place finish, and he'll average it out with wherever he comes across the start-finish line in this race. AJ Green will start in P11. He'll have Brandon Colley to his outside, two of the strongest drivers in duel number 1. We'll look for them as we drop the green. Ken MacArthur, Brandon Banks, the 97 and the 54 round out your top 14 in a row 7. Adam Alashire starts inside the top 15. Steven Stempien, your duel 1 winner, will look to do it all over again, but that would frankly be a very interesting proposition if that were to happen. He rolls off in P16. Defending champion Lawson Peel is 17th. It'll be Rodney Roberts in 18th in the number 20 machine for Bacael Bueno Racing. Curtis Kelly, Eric Schaefer into your top 20. The final ones in there. Austin Reedy, Ryan Taft, 21st, 22nd, 23rd for Brandon Gillis, 24th for CJ Munier. Kevin D'Elia to round out your top 25 with Christopher Bishop to join him on the outside. Craig Lownslugger, Jason Hastings, 27th, 28th. Chuck Keller and Eric Stewart at the tail end of row number 15 to round out your top 30. And then here are the final drivers in the field for duel number 2. Tyler Werner, Jaden Porter, who did not take a qualifying time, by the way. Colin Forster in the 99 starts 33rd. Brady Cox 34th. And then rounding out your entire field, I don't believe he made the grid. Neither did Brady Cox, the number 14 of Robert Rowe. So field will be the hands of Michael Newbraw, who got into a spin late in the going in duel number 1. And is going to look to have some redemption. We saw a dramatic close finish at the end of the first one. Can we have the same the second time around? It's all a matter of moment and just to wait. And the pace car will make its way down to the entrance of pit road. Michael Newbraw will be the first to see the green into the restart zone. Cedric Hunter to his outside. How aggressive will the field be? We'll just have to see. Michael Newbraw hops on the gas pedal, and we're racing for the second and final duel from Daytona. Door-to-door battle between Tony Kivitt and Cedric Hunter, and similar to duel number 1, your driver who starts on the pole for the duel, it's shuffled back immediately. Michael Newbraw falls to 3rd, and now maybe 5th or 6th on that inside lane. 3 cars able to switch in front. Kivitt, Sanchez, and Hill out of turn 2. 1, 2, 3. And now here comes Hill. He's got some nice help from Kyle Benson. They're swerving a little bit further behind. Couple of drivers letting the whole field through and not wanting to take the risk, but Kyle Benson aggressive already, and he's caught up with his Murray Media Motorsports teammate in Austin Reedy. They'll wobble out of turn 4, but Benson has the push to Lance Hill to give him the lead. Top 2, maybe top 3 clear for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And look at how far Lance Hill just got dropped back. Benson and Reedy decide to shuffle him out. Now Adam Alashire will look to the inside, get some help from the number 1 machine. There's Brandon Colley already moving up to 3rd, but our caution flag will come out. And it looks like Chuck Keller involved in the number 7. See some of the right side damage on his Chevy Camaro, and we'll see exactly what might have happened, whether this is a single car incident or whether this is just a full-on stack-up. And here was the number 7. You see them all check up. There were roughly about 3, maybe 4 wide. This is on the outside of David, the one on the inside of, I believe, Colin Forster in the 99. Indeed it was. So the Stonks Motorsports driver in Forster not having a good start to duel number 1. I don't believe he picks up enough damage to warrant a fast repair. See it one more time from driver the 7. There's nowhere to go. We saw a similar incident with Craig Lownslugger and another driver in duel number 1. And so it happens all over again in the 7 of Chuck Keller, the victim in all this. He brings it down to pit road, and we are under caution for the first time in duel number 2 already, taking us 4 or so laps to be beneath the pace car. Maybe some chances for some drivers to head down to pit road. But for right now, it looks like fuel strategy not in the minds of these guys for the moment. And Kyle Benson already making his way to the very front of the field. Didn't take him long to hook up with his Murray Reedy Motorsports teammate in Austin Reedy, and we figured it was going to happen. They worked so well together at these larger plate tracks. I can immediately think of Daytona, Talladega, how good they've worked together. And some of the races haven't really gone their way, but for the most part, they have stood out amongst the rest of the field, even if they're only really 2 cars strong in most of their endeavors for Murray Reedy Motorsports. They do have a teammate in Ryan Steenbacher's, but Steenbacher's not here in duel number 1 or in duel number 2, as I believe we might have had a taker on at pit road. Indeed we do. Brandon Colley going to make his way in. Oh, Brandon Colley's going to overshoot his pit box, hopped on the brakes a little too late. It's one thing about these next-gen cars is that you have to heat up the brakes. You can't keep them as cold as possible, because if you do, chances are when you head into your stall, you're going to overshoot like that. Colley's going to lose some time, and a couple of drivers will take advantage of that. It looks as though everybody roughly 18th on back, starting with Cedric Hunter, has made their way down to the pit lane, and Hunter was in grasp of taking the win in duel number 1 in that Hello Kitty machine, and unfortunately did not pan out for him as he was caught up in that crash. And there's Colley to follow. 2 of them were involved in that incident, or just around it. But they will have to be at the rear of the field, and we'll see exactly how things all pan out, because if we do get another caution, these guys are going to have to pit at least that one more time. But if we don't get a caution, it may warrant green flag stops. Everybody else who just pitted right now, 18th on back, will have the opportunity to stay out and just play the whole race as is. Tires aren't necessarily a big of a factor, as we'll see at a lot of the other tracks in the schedule, the short tracks, the intermediates, and even some of the larger 2-mile plus ovals with Michigan in the schedule as well. You're not looking at a lot of tire fall off here at these super speedways, most notably at Daytona. And to make matters worse for the tire wear conversation, it's a cool racetrack. We're in the middle of November, and the lights are on at Daytona International Speedway, so it is as cool as you can make it here at Daytona Beach. As it looks like we may get the Wonder Green signal this time by from the iRacing official pace car. We'll just have to find out, and I think we will. And the Murray Reedy Motorsports teammates in Reedy and Benson will control both lanes. A little bit of a dangerous sight, and they can keep it up there. Kyle Benson, Austin Reedy taking wins respectively in season number 4. Benson with that walk-off win to enter the playoffs after having a rough season up until that point at the Kansas Speedway. And Austin Reedy being able to grab 2 wins on the season. One of them happening at the Circuit of the Americas circuit, where he beat Lawson Peel at the end out of turn 20. And then his first coming at the first race of the season right here at this very track at Daytona. So Reedy riding with a lot on his shoulders pressure-wise. And you will have Adam Alashire and Lance Hill behind him, the 2 Stonks Motorsports teammates, some of the strongest drivers we've seen in the entire 4Wide Racing Cup Series. And both of them as well, Hill and Alashire, able to pick up wins back in season number 4. Alashire with the 1 win at Watkins Glen. Lance Hill with the 1 win at Road America. But both of them not with oval wins. So an interesting proposition if they can find an oval win in season number 5. That is, of course, if they are able to do it. Well, we just got word, and I do want to apologize. Alashire and Hill are not on Stonks Motorsports. They were, but they have formed their own group, Trackhouse Racing, obviously inspired by the real-life NASCAR Cup Series team that went all the way to the championship for this year with Ross Chastain, and almost about had 2 cars in there with Daniel Suarez. And so Trackhouse Racing, that's their group for now. It's going to get a little bit of time to get used to it, but fortunately, this is why we have a race like the Duels and even the Shootout. It gives us a little bit of a preview, gives us a chance to fully identify who's who and who's on what team. Green flag back in the air at lap number 6 of number 30. Austin Reedy and Kyle Benson look no further to work with each other. Trackhouse Racing looking to double up on the high side. Back to turn 1. And more wobbling 4th on back. That's Joe Sanchez trying to work with, I believe, Lawson Peel in the number 12. Indeed, they will. Lance Hill getting shuffled to the back, so cannot find his Trackhouse Racing teammate. But the duo up front in the 10 and the 96, still maintaining control at the front. Back to turn 3. Is the onboard from Benson on the rear end. Look at the distance him and Reedy have been able to put on everybody else, but the strength in numbers going to work up top. Here comes the 55 and the 12 with a head of steam. They're going to get to the outside of the 96. Kyle Benson looked to block but could not do it. Here comes Sanchez to P1 into turn 1. And we talk about how important the strength in numbers is at these super speedways. As Lance Hill dives to the bottom, he'll go underneath Lawson Peel for a second and try to look for the race lead on the Daytona super stretch. You need to have drivers behind you. Austin Reedy, though, gets turned in the middle of the field, and caution is out for the second time tonight. AJ Green is in it. There's a late stack up by the 33. Tyler Murray is also featured in the crash. And Reedy just got turned on the back straightaway, and there was nothing he could do to avoid it. Here's a look at how it all started. There's Reedy getting in a stack up, and that's Adam Alashire in the 91 that I believe gives him the faulty tap. Right about there, he gets stacked up with a 10. So just a bad bump at a bad time. There's Kevin DeLee involved in it. AJ Green getting stacked up in the mess. And then some more carnage. Tyler Murray traveling down the banking and into another car. There's a look on board from AJ Green. Nothing that AJ Green can do to get out of it. And Reedy just got turned from the rear end by Alashire. We'll see if we can get a look from the 91's perspective. And it just looked like a stack up. It happens here with these runs. And it happens often here at a track like Daytona, where a driver's trying to push and then another driver's trying to push the pusher. And right about here, where Lance Hill steps in front of the 10, they stack up. And then they'll stack up once more right about here in the 96. We'll get trapped with the bumper of the 91. And even Alashire gets a piece of the damage on the front end of his Siemens Chevy Camaro. Luckily able to escape the crash. He holds on to track position. Caution flag out. And we do have drivers on pit road, and that does include the driver of the 91. It looks like many of the guys, mostly within the top 10 on back, have decided to come in. And Joe Sanchez and company going to stay out. So the 55. But Sanchez going to maintain out of the racetrack. Lance Hill going to be in second. Lawson Peel going to hold on to the top 3. Caution out once again, and 1/3 through of the way in duel number 2 as we try to kick off season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. We'll take a moment to step side by side, but you won't miss a thing. Joe Sanchez, still your leader. We'll go back to green in a couple of moments.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
11 laps complete here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Kenneth Bueno to join you in the booth here on MaxSpeedTV as we continue our coverage of Duel number 2 in this 4-wide Racing Cup Series opener for season number 5. We are ready for a restart here with about 20 laps to go. Lance Hill, Joe Sanchez, the 55 and the 1 at the very front of the field. Pace car will make its way down. Sanchez has been in this situation a couple of times before, or at least near it, in the first duel. We'll see if he can continue to hold serve, this time through a green flag back in the air. Peel to give a shove, and Sanchez will lead the field back to turn 1. Already you can tell just how strong the outside line is, most notably out of the corner, and Kyle Benson not fearing anything at all as he gives the push to the 1. Jaden Porter, the 3rd car in line, and that white, pink, and teal number 28 Ally Camaro. You see Taft has moved his way up into the top 10 or so, moving into 9th. That's Brandon Cawley behind him. Cedric Hunter in the 31 also in the mix as well. And look at Shane White in number 45 for Lights Out Esports up at the front as well. On board with the driver, the number 45. It's been a while since Wyatt has raced in this 4-wide Racing Cup Series, but with Lights Out Esports and with their dual number 1 win on behalf of Steven Stepien, it definitely has proven successful so far, and looking to have a foothold on the rest of the competition as Lance Hill makes space out in front with 18 laps to go. But here comes a move to the outside by Sanchez and Peel. 2 versus 2 back to turn 3. We talk about how important cohesiveness is in this race. Benson has lost the draft with Austin Reedy because of the crash, but Lawson, Peel, Sanchez working together. Now here comes sophomore driver Porter to the inside for P2. A gutsy move by Porter. He'll bring Taft with him back to turn 1. And look at Cedric Hunter finding a way down low. That'll make it 4 or so cars. A bit of a gap to the 45 of Shane White. A big checkup on the inside as well. And that will only accelerate the drivers up at the top of the field. Now here comes Brandon Cawley. Help from Duel 1 winner Steven Stepien at the bottom. They'll stack up and now bring in Colin Forrester in the 99 to lead that second line. Talk about the ups and downs that Colin Forrester has dealt with as a driver in this 4-wide Racing Cup Series. Came out of the gate as strong as ever with a couple of wins in a row. Now here comes Peel to make it a move up high. Sanchez to block. Open space for Cawley down low. But Colin Forrester looking for a redemption tour this time by. Struggled a little bit with the next-gen cars in season number 4 as a big crash happens behind them. Rodney Roberts involved. Christopher Bishop. Michael Newbraw. And the yellow waves again with 16 laps to go. There's Bishop in the 42 coming to a dead stop behind Michael Newbraw as Newbraw with suspension damage on both the left and right front. The toe link's completely torn off. Newbraw might have to just tow it to pit road. That's exactly what he does. And we will try to assess exactly what happened this time in a turn 1. And just about here, a couple of drivers hit the outside wall. That starts with the 42 of Bishop and then just stacks everybody in it. There's Tony Kivett. There's the 93 of Cody Kinsey. The 29, or the 20 rather, of Rodney Roberts. So take a look on board with him as he was caught up in it, but you'll see it right in front of him. The 42 will slide up high. The 42 hits the outside wall, following the train of cars, and then Roberts just gets into him, and then, bam, comes in Michael Newbraw, and Roberts travels down the track, slams into the 7 machine of Chuck Keller. There's also the 33 machine. I think that might have been Tyler Warner in his car. As there's a look at Eric Schaefer, able to escape all of the carnage. We haven't really talked much about Eric Schaefer tonight. One of the cleaner cars in duel number 2 so far, and even a clean car in duel number 1. But unfortunately, the track position has not come his way as Sanchez and company will have to make a decision to come down pit road. Remember, a lot of the field already coming in for their first batch of service. You only really need a splash of fuel to get to the end at lap 30. It's just outside of the fuel mark on how far you can go with these next gens despite the larger fuel tank. But for the leaders, they will stay out, and we will have another lap under caution with the lights on the iRacing official pace car. So if you're enjoying our coverage of Duel number 2 and even Duel number 1 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series here from Daytona, you are going to love what's going to happen 1 week from tonight, where we kick off the first race of the Season 5 2022-23 schedule with the TJ's Team 250. That goes live at 9:10 p.m. Eastern 1 week from tonight, right here, same place, same time on MaxSpeedTV. So we talk about the previous success that drivers have had in season number 4 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and none could ever be more true than for the driver sitting in P3 right now, the defending series champion, Lawson Peel, in his number 12 machine. Capped off the season with 7 wins, including a win in the final race of the season at the Texas Motor Speedway. And Lawson Peel going into another campaign of 4-Wide Racing action. This time, a little more pressure, though, on him to defend his title. We talked about that ad nauseum with AJ Green when he won the Season 3 title. How much would be riding on him for Season 4. Was not able to go back-to-back. Did make the playoffs, though, with the win. And Lawson Peel, though, is going to have to also answer to the same call, getting 7 wins last season. Can he do the same or put up even more into Season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series? Also want to send him congratulations on the championship for Season 5 of the MPI Cup Series that capped off just 1 weekend ago when the Real Life NASCAR Cup Series visited Phoenix for the NASCAR Championship weekend on Sunday night. Lawson Peel was able to finish off the season with double-digit wins on the campaign. Was able to take that 2022 title, so a huge congratulations to Lawson Peel. You see on the rear end of his car, we'll see if we can get it on the front end of Colin Forster, but it does say on the back bumper of his Camaro, "I lucked into the championship." Not sure if it's luck completely, but Lawson Peel are going to restart 3rd here when we get back to the green. We'll double them up. Lights are off on the iRacing official pace car. It looks like we will have a restart with 12 laps to go. We've had a lot of cautions happen in Duel number 1. We were forced into one of 3 green-white checkered attempts, and it only took that first one to get to the checkered. And the carnage seems to continue with a lot of the antsiness from the field. Again, it all comes down to average finishing position in each of the 2 duels. That's why every driver is allowed to even be here for both duels. If not, we would have just had 2 duels with 2 different sets of drivers listed by the league owners and admins. But because we have this average finishing rule, every single driver can participate. That's why you're seeing Duel 1 winner Steven Sempian here on the outside of row number 2. He's got the opportunity to win again. I think they may go with the 2nd place driver if that is the case, if he gets into another win here. But all of these guys looking to start P2 in the TJ's Team 250 on the outside of row number 1. We'll see if they can be clean to the end. A lot of the antsiness just because it's only a 30-lap race and you want to have a high finishing position. Drivers are willing to take those risks. We'll see if those risks are worth making or if they take you out of contention to start up front 1 week from tonight. Pace car makes its way down to pit road. It'll be Joe Sanchez in control of the field into the Geico restart zone. Brandon Colley to react. Green flag back in the air. And a great start for the inside lane. We talked about how good the 12 and the 55 were working together prior to that caution flag. They're looking to do the same. No separation this time by. It looks like Taft has just tapped the outside wall. He will let some of the field by, but we will stay green. That's Ryan Taft in the number 86 machine. Meanwhile, they are struggling to get things built up at the very top. Brandon Colley trying his hardest to keep pace with the guys on the bottom, but too many drivers down there. And now here comes Kyle Benson to the top side to fend for 3rd. Benson going to make the switch down low. Sanchez to block up high and work with Peel. And can Benson work his way back to the front? It looks like it just stalls out too many cars at the very high side, and they're going to let themselves spread around, maybe 5 or 6 cars clear before you get to the first side-by-side battle between Benson and Jaden Porter. And that is for roughly 7th on the racetrack right now. Here comes Brandon Colley, help from Stepien, a block sent by Sanchez, and Pio absolutely nowhere he could go. He'll have to pick up the 28 in a couple of moments back to turn 3. On board with the driver of the 11, Brandon Colley, who takes over second. You look at a little bit at the inside lane building up. Sanchez now gets shuffled out of line all by himself. It looks like he may have wanted to find Pio, or maybe he just let them through. Now Pio switches in front, so they work back together. 10 laps to go from Daytona, and Brandon Colley in control once again. It has been unbelievable, the effort put up by Cedric Hunter and Brandon Colley, how close they were to the win in duel number 1. And now here all over again into 9 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line. There's Jaden Porter, who has moved his way up to 4th. Colin Forster has moved up to 5th. And how about 6th place? Jason Hastings in that number 49, the Buc-ee's machine. We haven't talked about him all night long, and he's got a shot to win as they stack up on the high side. Oh, and Hastings gets turned in the middle of the field. The big one on the exit of the trial wall. And caution flag is out with 9 laps to go. You know, you figure with an off-season, you'd have the chance to scrub off some of the commentators' jinx. But it absolutely does not happen. It reminds us that it is fully alive and well, and it happens right here. Lawson Pio getting a big run, and it looks like right about there he'll give a faulty tap as Alishire gets loose. Actually, no, the contact started with Alishire in the middle 3 wide. That looked to be Curtis Kelly, I think, on the very high side. We'll take a look at it here from a further angle. That's Curtis Kelly in that bright blue Dynaco machine at the top. Adam Alishire in that white and teal machine behind him. So a huge stack up actually occurs right there. The 53 gets into the 91, and there's nothing they could do. I mean, haven't really talked about it in detail, but on the inside and the outside, when you get so many guys together, it's bound to happen. Somebody wants to push the pusher. Somebody wants to give the shove. And it leads to a huge stack up on the top. Everybody has to let off the gas, or even in extreme cases, touch on the brake pedal. And it looks like that's exactly what happened with Alishire and Curtis Kelly. Just got sandwiched all together. Kevin DeLeo on the rear end of that. And then just trying to avoid it. Nothing they could do. And Jason Hastings becomes a innocent bystander in all of that. And he gets caught up in a crash here at lap number 23 of 30 inside the final 7 laps to go. Also have an update. Chuck Keller has DNF tonight, so he finishes 33rd. Jesse Priest has also pulled it behind the garage 1 lap down. He, in the 00, is 29th at the end of this. And it looks like everybody involved in that crash will look for the faster pair. Look at Curtis Kelly, who did not take a fast pair, although he is mired back in 23rd. Tyler Werner, there's Jason Hastings, who did not get a fast pair, so he escapes with some of the damage there, and he will wait to use it till later. And a couple of other drivers to follow in as well into pit road, and a tough break for all of them. And even most notably guys like Austin Reedy, Kevin D'Elia, and like Hastings, who are building up solid runs into the final handful of laps. And now they will just have to work from the rear, or just keep themselves 1 lap down or more, just based on the circumstance. And that is not going to give them a great, solid finishing position heading into the TJ's Team 250 in 1 week time. Speaking of TJ's Team, there's one of the Murray Reedy Motorsports cars to go by in Austin Reedy. And so he's going to get his lap back, I believe. He should be back on the lead lap. He will be 27th, though, behind the league owner Tyler Murray in the number 16 machine. And again, still getting used to a lot of the newer teams and the newer drivers and also the newer numbers here in Season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. We did also get an entry list, a broadcaster's guide on behalf of our league owner, Tyler Murray, so a lot of appreciations to him. And we do want to outline a lot of the teams that are involved in this season. We talked about Trackhouse Racing, with them involved, Colin Forster. For Stonks Motorsports, We have Murray Beatty Motorsports, Austin Reedy, Ryan Steenbacher's Kyle Benson, the highlight drivers in there. Drinking Bros Racing, I believe, have 2 different camps, or just a lot of the drivers in the same camp, and pretty much have a hefty amount of the field. Southern Heat Racing returns as well. We saw Craig Launslager bring them to a Championship 5 appearance 1 season ago. Brandon Gillis Racing on behalf of Brandon Gillis himself. Stempian moving over to Lights Out Esports with the likes of Shane Wyatt and a couple of other drivers, one of the newer teams in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series. And that seems to be it. Just a whole field lined up in all of those teams, and we've seen some of them work together quite well tonight, but a lot of them mostly separated from each other as the lights will flicker off on the pace car. We will have our 1 to green signal, and it looks like we'll take the restart with 7 laps to go. Actually, with 5 laps to go, excuse me, from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. We talked so much about the 11 of Brandon Colley and how close he was to winning duel number 1. He's got a shot to do it all over again, but same deal for a lot of the guys who won duel 1 in the likes of Steven Stempian, but also very close to it in the likes of Jaden Porter and even the 31 of Cedric Hunter, who just got caught up in the last moment at the worst possible time, got caught up in the crash. And so a lot of the same featured drivers from the end of duel number 1 are resurging back to duel number 2. We do want to officially get word, though, if Steven Stempian wins this race, who will officially take the 2nd place spot. We will immediately assume that whoever finishes 2nd in duel number 2, if Stempian gets to the checkered flag again, will be awarded that 2nd place spot on the outside of row number 1 for the feature race in 1 week time. So we'll run through the top 10 as it stands. Brandon Colley, Steven Stempian, your first row. Cedric Hunter, Jaden Porter, 3rd and 4th. It'll be 5th for Adam Alashire in the 91. Colin Forster underneath him in P6. Joe Sanchez in P7. Lance Hill in P8. Kyle Benson and Lawson Peel to round out your top 10. And what worries me the most for the rest of the guys up front, Lawson Peel and Joe Sanchez are lined up nose to tail on the inside of their respective rows. So green flag to come with 5 laps to go in duel number 2. And Brandon Colley, as he enters the Geico restart zone, will have discretion. A huge jump on the Ford Mustang. Green flag back in the air. Can we stay clean for much longer? And already you can tell the outside lane could not get going. A lot of them already fizzling to the inside lane. 2 of the Trackhouse Racing cars working together. Adam Alashire and Lance Hill up at the top. Now a couple of more looking to the very 2nd lane, but everyone's going to block. Forrester makes a move down low with Sanchez and Peel. Will they have enough time? Coming to 4 laps to go. They will spread out. Jaden Porter to the inside with help from Alashire. And Forrester all over the back bumper of the 91 as they cross the start-finish line. Colley still in control, but Jaden Porter looking to mount a huge run. And will anybody follow up top? Look at the single file train, 1st through 4th. Now make it 1st to 3rd. First battle now inside the top 3. Hill, Sanchez. Looking to the inside with Colin Forrester and a couple of others now moving all over the track. Here comes Alashire. A move back down low, turn 3. You can tell a lot of the antsiness there as Alashire gets a poor push. He goes sideways. He wobbles a bit. 31 into the outside wall. He gets turned, and the caution, will it wave? For now it won't, but Hill gets turned in the trial, and he'll come back up the track. Now the caution out with 3 to go. And Cedric Hunter gets caught out again with the bad luck, as his car was stuck up against the outside wall and I believe got turned into it. Kyle Benson, as I believe they might have been trying to make a 3rd lane possible. And we've seen it happen a couple of times, at least drivers trying it, but just have not been successful in their endeavors. Here's a look at how it all began. It started with turn 3 And this huge distance between Alashire and Kyle Benson. We talk about how big of a run you can get with these next-gen cars. Benson immediately closes up and then decides to go high. And then Hunter drifts a little bit down low. And by the time the momentum catches up to the rear end of the Ford Mustang and Hunter, there was nothing he could do. The contact was made, and they both stack up against the outside wall. Look at Ryan Taft, a huge hit there on the aftermath of the accident. As he gets heavy right front tolling damage. It has not been the night for Ryan Taft at all in either of the dual races. And the caution is out again, which means another green-white checkered. It'll be attempt number 1 of, I believe, 3 attempts that we have to finish this race under green. And once again, Steven Stepien is in the picture. He was inside the top 5 when we went on that last restart in duel number 1. And he's got an opportunity to do it all over again. But Brandon Colley, Adam Alashire, Jaden Porter, even Eric Schaefer, who has moved his way up in the top 5. Haven't talked about Eric Schaefer much of all tonight. But all these guys hungry for that second starting spot in next week's TJ's Team 250. Eric Schaefer, one of the more successful drivers in last season's edition of the 4Wide Racing Cup Series, picked up a total of 4 wins, the second most behind Lawson Peel with that 7-win campaign. In the championship, Eric Schaefer had such a great season going as well, even made the championship 5 at the Texas Motor Speedway. Unfortunately, was not able to cap it off with a title, but still, even then, the number 3 did such a solid job, and you have to imagine the amount of momentum he's carrying going into this season, and also the different types of tracks he was able to win at. It all started with the win at the 2.5 mile, the Tricky Triangle at Pocono in Pennsylvania, and then did it a couple of races later at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in stunning fashion. Then was able to finally get a short track win, something that really eluded him for a long time in the series in race number 12. Picked up his 3rd win. His final win came in the playoffs at the Darlington Raceway in a miraculous last lap pass on Colin Forster on fresh tires. And Schaefer looking to end the night here from Daytona in the duels with a great finish and potentially even the win to get him P2 once we wave the green next week. So it looks like we'll go roughly one more time before we get that 1 to green signal from the iRacing official pace car. We certainly appreciate everybody tuning in tonight here on MaxSpeedTV. Again, we'll have coverage of Season 5 in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series all season long till 2023 and our finale at Homestead of Miami Speedway. I will also be joined by my colleague in the booth, Francisco Bacallao, who is not here tonight for the dual coverage, but should be there in 1 week time for the inaugural race of Season 5. And we'll have it for you all season long. We'll try to keep you entertained, keep you enthralled on what's been a very competitive series in the past and what may look to be even more competitive towards the future, as Brandon Colley will catch the start-finish line along with the iRacing official pace car. And this should be the lights off on it with the 1 to green signal, and we will have our first attempt at a green-white checkered. We'll extend this race to lap number 33, I believe, in total. Give you an update on the drivers out of duel number 2. It starts with Kevin D'Elia in the 53, 8 laps down and counting, P30, then P31 for Jesse Prees. Jason Hastings is 32nd, 9 laps down, but still out on the racetrack, so he could potentially gain a couple of those laps back and gain some spots. Chuck Keller has fallen all the way to 33rd. We also talked about him earlier in the duel. It's 15 laps down and counting. He is out of the race. Also to note, the first driver to use their fast repair tonight, in the running order, 11th place, Ken MacArthur. Everybody else up at the front yet to use their fast repair. Hopefully it stays that way. We've seen a lot of carnage at the end of each and every duel so far in the event. And hopefully we are able to follow in the same trend as duel number 1, where we are able to finish under green-white checkered, but under the green flag. We almost about had a caution, though, by the way. The end of duel number 1, if you were unfortunate enough to not be able to watch the end of it, you can rewind a little bit here on the stream itself. But we did almost have that crash that could have easily set out the caution as they were entering the tri-oval, reaching for the white, but the caution was not waved in enough time. They did make the white flag, the leaders did, and they were able to race it all the way back to the start-finish line, albeit with some minimized cars in the field. we'll see if it follows through in the same tracks. Brandon Colley, your race leader. Steven Stempien looking to go 2 in a row tonight. Jaden Porter inside your top 3. Adam Alashire on the inside of him, P4. Joe Sanchez inside your top 5. Eric Schaefer, Brandon Banks, Lawson Peel, Christopher Bishop, and the 99 of Colin Forrester. Final 2 laps in duel number 2. Colley up and away. Green flag back in the air from Daytona. And similar to the last restart, that outside having a bit of trouble getting up through the gears. A big block by Adam Alashire stalls the run by Jaden Porter and Joe Sanchez. Having a third car in line as well. I believe that's Brandon Banks in the 54. But Brandon Colley going to stay up at the front, stepping to follow. Big block by the 11 of the 28 into turn 3. They're 3 wide. Stempien gets turned into the apron. So does Colley. They'll slam into the wall. Multiple cars around, and the caution flag is out, obviously, and we'll have another attempt. Another big stack up. And it involves your race leaders once again. You have to feel for the 11 of Colley, who did fall to 3rd. So not completely out of the race, but it was just everybody else behind who gets caught up in it. Steven Stempien, Jaden Porter. Look at them finishing 1 and 2 in Duel 1. And Porter with some tolling damage on the right front. Looks like his race might be over in terms of going for the race win. He does have a faster pair in line with him, so his race not completely over, still has some chance to gain track position. And we'll try to diagnose the situation properly. But it really started, I believe, with Steven Stempien and the likes getting stacked up right here. You'll watch the big run by the 91 and the 3. That's Eric Schaefer and Adam Alashire. Stempien gets forced through the middle, and then Eric Schaefer just makes contact with him. And then as they come back down the track, the 42 and the 3 side body each other. Shane Wyatt in it as well. There's Austin Reedy getting a piece of it at the late end. Here's a look from Reedy, who was in around the second pack watching everybody go all over the place. And as they tried to break, look at Austin Reedy going heavy into the incident, getting 1, 2, and 3 cars. There's Cody Kinsey going up the track. Nothing Reedy could do to slow down in enough time. And he just drove through that crash. It has not been the duel for Austin Reedy whatsoever, as we do have drivers on pit road. There's a look at the 96, but the lead will change hands to the 55 of Joe Sanchez, who will be your leader when we get the green on the second attempt at a green-white checkered. So Brandon Colley actually regains a spot to second. It looked like he was going to be 3rd when the caution was weighed, but he does get the spot over Brandon T. Banks, who has been quiet tonight in duel number 2. Had some struggles in duel number 1. But it has been a nice second race for the driver, the 54, one of the Championship 5 drivers from 1 season ago. And looking to become in Season 5, the only driver, I believe, to go 3 seasons in a row into the championship race. Now, Banks did not win in Season 3, did not win in Season 4, had shots at either of those races. But Banks pretty much holding on to momentum. And it's almost a question of when will that championship come to the 54 instead of if. And so he will run up 3rd on the restart. Adam Alashire, who has gone through pretty much hell and back. He is P4. Colin Forster into your top 5. Ken MacArthur had a huge struggle in duel number 1. And look where he is standing now. P6 with Eric Stewart, who also had struggles in the first race. Now lined up for a top 10, maybe even better at the end of the second one. Cedric Hunter has moved his way back up to the top 10. There he is in that bright pink Ford Mustang in P9. And then Craig Launslager, who also had trouble in duel number 1, in the last spot so far in your current top 10. So I guess a lot of what we're seeing here is a mix of the drivers consistent enough to beat the front in duel number 1, and then the drivers who just was dealt bad luck in that first race, and now have the opportunity to gain some redemption and mediate that average finishing score. As the field will double up behind the iRacing official pace car, we'll go green with 2 laps to go again. Remember, if we do not get to the white and the caution comes out before then, we will line them up and do it all over again, and that will be, I believe, our final attempt to finish the race under green. We'll have it end under caution if that is the case. But if they do make it to the white, race is on to the start-finish line. Doesn't matter what happens from the white to the checkered. Whoever gets there first to the checkered flag will be the winner in duel number 2 and will be awarded that spot right alongside Steven Stepien in the 8 machine on the front row for next week's Daytona opener. Stepien not in a possibility to win for right now. He is buried deep within the field. We've got a lot of strong drivers in here who are willing to take it all away. And it'll all start with Joe Sanchez at the very front of the field. Brandon Colley to follow through in P2. Alishire Banks, 3rd and 4th. Ken MacArthur, Colin Forster, row number 3. And then everybody else behind him. And we'll see how it all fares out. Pace car will make its way to the entrance of pit road. And the race for duel number 2 will be in the hands of the 55, the cookout machine. Brandon Colley again to respond on the high side. Could this be the final attempt? We'll just have to see. Into the Geico restart zone. Joe Sanchez is up and away, tried to throw Brandon Colley off, but it's a remarkably even restart going back to turn 1. And caution out again. It looks like Eric Schaefer and a couple of others might have had some problems before we even got to the corner. There's Christopher Bishop sideways. And he will save it. He'll hop over the bumps in the grass. And we'll do it once more. And we'll see exactly what happened. It looked like this might have happened near the rear of the field. In fact, a stack up. And I think Lawson Peel also gets a piece of this as well. So we'll look here. This is the 42 Christopher Bishop. They head for the green flag. Look at the stack up on the inside and the top. So they all try to slow down. Peel works his way through the middle. And it was right there. So it didn't even involve the 42 till the latter end of the crash. The 3 of Eric Schaefer getting into the 12 of Lawson Peel as Peel got a huge jump, trying to force his way through the middle, ran out of space. And then into the wall the 12 went. Schaefer and Peel both using their fast repairs this time through. There's Peel using his fast repair, actually just getting the damage fixed on a pit road. And another caution comes out. Looks like we will be pushed to our final attempt at a green-white checkered from Daytona. And listen on board with Joe Sanchez. He is clutching and coasting. I believe is trying to make sure he doesn't run out of fuel. Remember, he has not pitted all duel long. Neither has Brandon Colley, Colin Forster in the same race. And so we may have fuel strategy become a concern. Listen in on the 55 again. And right there, just trying to make sure he holds on to every last bit of fuel that he can. And this could be a heartbreaker for the driver of the 55. Sanchez having a coast. And it's the same deal for Brandon Colley in the 11. And it's a long trip around the Daytona International Speedway. So they may indeed run out of fuel, or maybe just forced to hit pit road before the race is over. An unbelievable development at the end of Duel 2. And now it poses the question, how many others are at risk? I think Colin Forster, 34 laps in a stint, might also be in trouble. And Lance Hill in the number 1 machine, 38 laps into a stint where he hasn't pitted even once in tonight's race. And so fuel becoming a concern. We did point out after duel number 1 and even entering duel number 2 that you do have to pit at least one time before the race is all said and done. There's Sanchez already going for the apron. I think he may just be on his last couple of drops, looking to save every last bit. But you did have to pit at least once to make it. It's just outside of the fuel window you can go under green here at Daytona. And fortunately, we've had enough cautions to warrant more saving under time. But even then, you're still wasting fuel more than anybody else, especially at the very front. If you're not in the draft and not coming down pit road under any of the yellows, could be grants for running out of fuel in the final laps. And we will go one more time around this Daytona International Speedway under the pace car. And we'll have our final attempt at a green-white checkered in duel number 1. Or duel number 2. Yeah, duel number 1 into the first attempt. And it's been a long night from Daytona, and we'll double them up. Sanchez in first, Colley to P2. Colin Forster, Brandon Banks into your second row. Eric Stewart stepping into the top 5 for the first time tonight. Ken MacArthur into P6. Cedric Hunter, Rodney Roberts, AJ Green, and the 13 of Craig Lounslager. We'll keep an eye out on the front row, especially for this restart. And if they run out of fuel, it could create a huge stack up. Might bring the last caution of the night. And we'll just have to see as they come down the very long Daytona Super Stretch. A place where we've seen the high side get the most momentum possible. They just got a huge run out of the banking. That's one thing you see. Difference in lines here at the super speedways. The inside line has the shortest way around. They're better in the corners. But that outside, as soon as they come off of that 31 degrees of banking and even the 18 degrees you find in the tri-oval at the start-finish line, you can gain so much ground. And so Colley will have that opportunity, but he just needs the outside to work with him. We've seen many times on a restart that second lane pour on their decisions to work together, and they really just separate themselves and create more of a gap. It takes them a while to get wound up to speed, but you only have 2 laps, so you have to keep that in mind as well. Pace car down, Sanchez to lead us back with 2 more left from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Can we end Duel 2 in this attempt? We'll find out. Sanchez on the gas with the 54 of Brandon Banks to follow. Colley and Forster working against them in turn 1. And once more, the outside fizzles out. Brandon Colley with absolutely no help in a 1 and 2. Now he'll find some, but caution comes out. Big crash in the middle of the corner. Rodney Roberts, Tyler Murray, Christopher Bishop, Kyle Benson, and Lance Hill among those involved. I think we may have another attempt. As we'll take a look as to what happened. And it may have started with the likes of Kyle Benson, Lance Hill up in front. They're on the inside, and right there, I think Rodney Roberts just loses the car in front of Lance Hill, and then Hill goes hard into the outside wall, and the same goes for Kyle Benson. He tacks Christopher Bishop late. And this is not going to be a pretty sight on behalf of the driver of the 10. So caution out again, and I do believe we've gotten the white flag, so I believe I was right. This is the last attempt at a green-white checkered. And it looks like Duel 2 will end under the yellow flag. So the saving grace for Joe Sanchez, who had been trying to save fuel for so long under that last one. And it looks like he will start on the outside of the first row at the TJ's Team 250 right here at Daytona 1 week from tonight. Brandon Banks, Brandon Colley look to round out the top 3. But as they come across to the start-finish line, checkered flag is in the air under the pace car, and it's Joe Sanchez to the win in duel number 2. So 2 Chevrolet Camaros sweep the night here from Daytona. Stempien your winner in duel number 1. Sanchez the winner in duel number 2. We'll see if he even has enough fuel to make a burnout happen on the front straightaway. Well, that caution was it. It was all she wrote. And Sanchez will start up front here at Daytona in 1 week time. An unbelievable night. We had 2 different types of finishes. Photo finish to the end in the first one by 2 1,000ths of a second. And now a more chill ending to the race as Sanchez will look to burn it down. I don't think he really has enough fuel left in it. But Sanchez will try his hardest. It looks like Brandon Banks will look to help him. Some of the Drinking Bros Racing teammates. And Brandon Banks trying his hardest to give the push to the 55, but just cannot do it. We'll see if they do inevitably get back up to speed. So they can bring the 55 to take the virtual checkered flag near Barney the Flag Man in the flag stand on the trial. We'll hear from Daytona. So that does it for duel number 2 here from Daytona. Joe Sanchez, your winner, with Brandon Banks to finish in second, Brandon Colley to finish in P3. What a remarkable first 2 races it's been for Brandon Colley. You have to imagine he may be a force to be reckoned with as a rookie going into the TJ's Team 250. Colin Forster finishes strong in P4. It'll be Eric Stewart with a top 5. Huge rebound after a struggling duel number 1. Cedric Hunter in the 31 rebounds to P6. It'll be 7th for Craig Launslug in the 13. 8th for the 97 of Ken MacArthur. AJ Green and Jaden Porter to round out the top 10. Shane Wyatt is in 11th. It'll be Steven Stepien in P12, your Duel 1 winner. Eric Schaefer to finish in 13th. It'll be 14th for CJ Munier. Rodney Roberts got caught up in that last crash, ends up in the top 15. Adam Alashar, Tyler Warner, Tyler Murray, Christopher Bishop, and the number 1 of Lance Hill. A lot of those guys beneath the top 15 involved in that crash to end this race from Daytona. Kyle Benson to finish 21st, 2 laps down. Michael Newbraw in the same camp, 22nd. Lawson Pio got into a crash, going to a restart. He's 23rd, 5 laps down. Ryan Taft finishes in 24th. Austin Reedy to rack up the top 25. Then it's Brandon Gillis, Curtis Kelly, Cody Kinsey, Tony Kibbett, and Jason Hastings in the 30th place position at the end of it. Kevin DeLeo, Jesse Priest, Chuck Keller, Brady Cox, and Robert Rowe complete your 35 car field in duel number 2. Brady Cox and Robert Rowe, also to mention, did not make the green flag in the second duel. So Joe Sanchez brings it down to a stall. I believe he needs some more fuel to end this race, or even to have a possibility at a celebration. But Sanchez able to finish off the night with a checkered flag in hand, and he will be second by the time we get to next week's opener right here at the Daytona International Speedway. And indeed, we do have some time to talk with our winner in stage, or I was about to say stage number 2. Wow, I'm all out of whack. Duel number 2. It feels a little weird having multiple races in one night for the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. But Joe, you are able to get it done. First of all, walk us through those concerns. You didn't pit all race long and you had to save at the end.
Yeah, I was pretty much saving from the drop of the green flag. I was hoping we get a couple cautions there to maximize staying out, but dodged a bunch of wrecks, and I honestly don't think I would have made it back if we didn't get that caution there. So I ran out right after we crossed the start-finish line. So just happy that caution came out.
Definitely right place at the right time. You're able to cross the start-finish line with this duel to win. And before we talk about your placement in the TJ's Team 250 1 week from tonight on the outside of row number 1, what were some of the things you learned here at this track? A lot of people could call this a preview of what to expect at Daytona next week. So what did you learn in particular behind the wheel of the plate track tonight?
The runs are huge. You could push for a while, and you could take a push. You can pretty much slam the guy in front of you if they have a warning that you're going to do it. So, you know, knowing when to block and when to not block is going to be key to having a car at the end, but it should be a fun race.
So Steven Stepien wins duel number 1. You win duel number 2. You will start outside on the front row when we take the green flag 1 week from tonight. Your expectations about that race for race number 1 and how you feel going into season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series?
It's a good start to the season, and hopefully can keep this momentum going once we even get out of Daytona.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Joe. Want to send you our congratulations on the win here at Daytona in duel number 2, and we'll see you for the opening race in 1 week time. Best of luck.
Thanks.
So that is Joe Sanchez and his number 55 machine to the win in this second duel, and the final one here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. For the second time tonight, we have a quiet track. We had an intermission between Duel 1 and Duel 2, got all that set up, but what a night of racing it was from the World Center of Racing. A 2/1000ths of a second finish at the end for the first duel, a caution-filled second duel with Joe Sanchez getting to the win, and that one stepping the winner in the first one. And now we have our official field set for what's going to be an ecstatic run to the 2023 title for Season 5. Here's a look one last time at the schedule, what we are expected to see. We start, of course, right back here at Daytona International Speedway 1 week from tonight on November 16th, 2022 at 9:10 p.m. Eastern. You'll find that coverage right here. Same YouTube place, MaxSpeedTV. Then we head to Michigan, Nashville, Watkins Glen, Las Vegas, Road America, all the way to our regular season finale back here at Daytona Beach, Florida, before we kick off the playoffs and end the season in 2023 at the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. So on behalf of everyone involved at the 4Wide Racing Cup Series, for Tyler Murray and everyone on the admin team and the race council, and on behalf of all of our broadcast partners here at MaxSpeedTV, for my colleague in the booth, Francisco Bacallao, that we will have over the course of Season 5, and for myself in the booth, Kenneth Bueno, we say good night from the World Center of Racing. Congratulations to Steven Stepien and Joe Sanchez. They will start on the front row for the TJ's Team 250 in 1 week time.